Well, hello there, everybody. So, if you're watching this video, you've probably already heard the news by now. I made a small thread criticizing many of the mixes within the Doom Eternal soundtrack, and then it ended up blowing up to proportions that I never would have imagined or even intended to the point where Mick Gordon himself graciously responded to the thread, and it even got picked up by major gaming outlets. So, it's very weird. But I was reading back through the thread, and as well as some of the articles, and I noticed there was a lot of confusion to some of the points that I made, not just by the articles themselves, but even by some other audio engineers. And so I realized I could have done a better job explaining myself a little better. And so I was looking at some options of what I could do, and then I realized, well, the example I used was BFG Division in Doom 2016 versus BFG Division 2020 from the Doom Eternal soundtrack. This is the soundtrack release, by the way. Not this doesn't apply to the game rip. I should note. But yeah, so I realized, what if I did a video showing how you could edit BFG, the 2016 version, to make it sound like BFG 2020. So that way you all could actually hear the difference in real time, as well as have a better understanding of how these processes are done through audio engineering. And so that's what we're going to do today. There's also been some rumors going around, unrelated to my thread. It just happened to coincidentally be at the same time about Mick Gordon and his relationship with id Software and Bethesda. I'm not here to comment on that. Frankly, that's none of my business or your business. If Mick Gordon or id or Bethesda wants us to know about it, they'll tell us. But in the meantime, I'm going to be staying away from that drama. I would encourage you all to do the same. And please don't harass anybody, whether it's Mick or any of the employees at id or Bethesda. Don't do that. I know especially with Bethesda it's cool because, they're, let's be real, kind of a shitty company and they have a bad track record. But we're not about that harassment. It's not cool, so please don't do that. I encourage you not to. But with that out of the way, let's open our Audacity folder. And so let's check out what we're going to do. So one of the misconceptions that I saw, specifically, I noticed this one in PC Gamer magazine. First off, they noted that that the Spotify quality was lower. As of right now, the soundtrack is not available on Spotify. It will be coming to Spotify at a later date, but it's currently not available there as during the recording. The only way to have access to the soundtrack is by purchasing the Collector's Edition, which I of course have, because you know how much I love my Doom. So the Collector's Edition soundtrack includes FLAC files. These are lossless files as opposed to 320 kilobit per second MP3 files. Not that you can tell much difference between them anyway without quality ear training and very high-end equipment, but nonetheless, I just wanted to show for maybe people that aren't familiar with audio engineering that the file type isn't what's making the difference here. This is the mix that goes into the process. So we're going to access, here we go, here's our FLAC version of the Doom 2016 soundtrack, and here's BFG Division. I'm going to hover my mouse over there just so that you can see that this is indeed a FLAC file. And we're going to load that up into Audacity. Alright, there we go. Close out that window. Actually, just want to make sure I'm still recording. Okay, cool. I don't want to do that take all over again. This is my third take. Can you believe that? Alright, so we're going to load up the Doom Eternal soundtrack. And then here we go. BFG 2020. And then as you can see once more, that is a FLAC file. So we're going to load that up into Audacity. And there we go. Now let's make that full screen so that it's easier for you all to see. Zoom in. Here we go. There we go. Now we can go back between these channels simultaneously. Now first what I'm going to do, because what I want to do is I want to focus on the main guitar riff in BFG Division. Now, the 2016 version includes a very lengthy intro, a very good intro, but for the sake of this, we're going to cut this down so that we can get right to the meat of that guitar riff. Go all the way back to the beginning, and Thanos snapped that out of existence. So, Alright, so we got BFG Division ready, both Doom 2016 and Doom 2020. I'm going to play the 2016 version first. Actually, zoom out a little bit. There we go. So this right here is the original Doom 2016 version of BFG Division. I have not made any edits to this yet. This is straight off the Doom 2016 official soundtrack. That sounds quite lovely if I do say so myself. Now, see where my mouse is hovering over the speaker icon right here? So this is going to give us our live visualization of all the sound, all of the unmuted sounds that are going to be played back in our timeline here. Now, this time, instead of paying attention to our little timeline marker, I want you to pay attention to our bar, our visualization right here. And I want you to pay attention to what's going on here, especially near the edge in the red zone. So check this out. So as you can see, notice that pulsating motion that's going on between -3 and 0 dB. Right here. dB, or decibels, this is how sound is measured, and it's very important in music recording. But notice how it's pulsating between -3 and 0. It's almost pulsating with the beat, with those eighth notes. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a... So now that we've gone over that, let's swap over to BFG Division 2020 from the Doom Eternal soundtrack that just released yesterday. Now, right off the bat, you'll notice the waveform in the timeline is a lot smoother. It's not going all the way up to the edge. That's because the limiter on 2016 is not compressing the signals as much as the limiter here on the 2020 version. And we're going to hear that in audio form. Now, remember the bars that you just saw when we were playing Doom 2016? I want you to look at that again while we're playing the 2020 version, and I want you to see the difference in the movement of the sound. This is really interesting. Check this out. So yeah, as you can see, there is some occasional movement there, especially near these peaks right here during the transitions, as well as a little bit here during the intro to that next guitar section. But it all flattens out, and as you can see, there's barely any movement here, just past -3 dB. That is because a limiter was placed on this track, and it's preventing the audio thresholds from exceeding that decibel amount. So maybe you're unfamiliar with audio engineering, and you're thinking, well, what does a limiter do? So check this out. Let's say I make a very loud noise like a clap. And then let's say I make a really soft noise like a snap. Perfectly balanced as all things should be. Anyways. Now, without any editing, those are going to appear vastly dynamically different, with the snap appearing as a more soft sound and the clap appearing as a loud sound. However, through the magic of editing, we could put them in a timeline and lower our threshold using a limiter of what will come out of our timeline. So let's just say the timeline of my clap is producing, I don't know, plus 5 dB, and the snap is producing, let's say, -10 dB. Just throwing random numbers out there. Well, I could go to my clap timeline use a limiter to lower the output to negative 10 dB. This is different than turning down the volume. Essentially what you're doing is you're lowering the volumetric threshold for where the sound can peak. So remember in Doom 2016, remember all that movement that was happening between negative 3 and 0 dB? Well, that additional limiter is what's causing little movement happening just past negative 3 dB on the 2020 version. That limiter is preventing the loud instruments from exceeding that threshold amount, while the quiet instruments are also going to that threshold. And so as a result, you almost have this flat, almost mono-like sound because you're not getting different signals coming out of your left and right channels. Again, let's look at that one more time. Yeah, so again, it's pretty much, you're getting a little movement here, but it's a very subtle movement right here at the just past the negative 3 dB mark. Okay, so now we've listened to both the original BFG Division from Doom 2016 as well as the new rearrangement in Doom Eternal. So now we're going to go back to BFG 2016 and we are going to edit this to give it a similar mixing to the Eternal version, and so that way you can see what the types of procedures that makes this happen and just how similar we can get these two tracks to sound. So I'm going to highlight my timeline for BFG 2016 and I'm going to access my limiter. Now as you can see, I already figured out what to set the limit to. Normally this is set to 0 by default. However, when doing my test run of this, I figured that it was negative 2.7 dB. That is what we're going to limit this to. This normally is limited to 0. So we're going to hit OK. And it's actually just that simple. It's that simple, folks. Let's see our new edited version of Doom 2016. And again, pay attention to the speaker icon and look at the movement that our bars are going to be doing now. And also, just an FYI note, look at how similar our timelines look now. We have these smooth edges right here on our waveforms. They look very similar. There's no more definition. There's no more peaks. So I'm pretty much setting up the outcome that you're about to see. But again, pay attention to our real-time sound that's going to be output here, and notice how similar it looks to the BFG Division from Eternal. Check this out. So, yeah, once again, it's very little movement right there. Again, not exactly an exact replica of the Eternal version, but yeah, that's basically what goes into these kinds of mixes. And then if you actually listen to the sound itself, I highly recommend doing this with a surround sound headset. But you'll notice, especially during the bass drum transitions that happen between each measure, you'll notice a lot of clipping, especially because of that hard limit. Let's play that one more time. Hold on, we'll give a little bit of setup first. Yeah, that little right there. Because all of those instruments are clashing together at the same threshold at the same time, it's producing a lot of clipping, despite the fact that this isn't going past negative 2.7 dB. So anyways, that wraps up this much lengthier video than I expected. Yeah, it's been a crazy couple days with all of this and just how much this is all blown up. Again, don't go harassing the id and Bethesda devs. That's not cool. That's not what this is about. Don't do that. At the same time, feel free to give Mick Gordon a follow. Again, Thank you so much, Mick. If you do see this video, thank you again for taking the time out of your day to respond to my thread, to my criticisms, and being very cordial about all that. And so, yeah, if you like this video, feel free to give my Twitter or my YouTube channel a visit. Most of my channel content is Doom and Nintendo content, along with musical mashups, including one with BFG Division, a mashup of that along with the Metroid Escape sequence. So definitely check that out. I really enjoyed it. That's all for my video, folks. Take care, wash your hands, stay safe out there, and have a fantastic day.